We still have a lot to learn with React and .NET. But now that we've done a little crash course with React, what we're going to do is take and put these two technologies together to create the full stack, right? With .NET on the back end and React on the front end. So let's do it. So we're going to start with the .NET side. I'm going to open up Visual Studio or Writer or whatever you're using. I'll wait for that to load. And then in here, we're going to create a project. And as we search for templates, this is where things are going to change a little bit. So we're no longer going to use MVC because we are losing the V. React's going to take care of all the front end, so we aren't going to have views anymore in our project. We're still going to do the M and the C. We're still going to have models. We're still going to have a controller, but the V goes away. And so what we're going to search for this time is API. So what we're going to do is take and build APIs in .NET for React to use, to consume is what we say. And so what we want is an API project, so ASP.NET Core Web API, and then we want to make sure it's the C# version. And once we find that, then we want to select that and say next. And the project name we're going to give it, I'm going to call it Full Stack Fun. Full Stack Fun. And then the location, we haven't done this before. I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to change the location to be inside that Full Stack Fun. We want to have a folder called Backend. So the name of the project is going to be Full Stack Fun. It's going to be in a folder called Backend. And then we don't want to put the solution and the project in the same directory because we want there to be a Full Stack Fun folder with the solution in it that sits at the same level as the front end and the back end folders. And then we want the project files inside the back end. And so this is that setup. Project name, Full Stack Fun. The location can be in the back end folder. And then, well, sorry, it should be Full Stack Fun /backend. And then make sure that box to place the solution to the project in the same directory is not checked. Okay, let's click next. And then we're going to see if we did this right. I'm just going to leave it as all the default options. Again, make sure it's .NET 8 and then create. All right, let's see if that did what we wanted it to do. Let me pull up over here. I gotta get, so in the PC, you go to the C drive and then the users folder and sorry, I'm trying to find the right files. And then your username and then source and then repos is where we're trying to go. So let me drag it over here. So we have the C drive, users, your username, source, repos. That's on the PC. On the Mac, you're going to have, if you're using Writer, then you're going to have a folder called Writer Projects, and it will be inside Writer Projects. So if we look in here and look at Full Stack Fun, sure enough, there's our backend folder, and we can go in and create a front end folder as well, so that we have both of those inside the Full Stack Fun. Okay. Let's take a minute and explore this new app that it's created for us. We don't really know anything about this one, right? And so what we're going to do is take a look at this API. Now, we run this just to see what it does. And we do want, if you ever get these trust SSL certificates and whatnot, your operating system is trying to protect you against bad people, right? Bad code, bad people trying to harm your computer, steal information, all that kind of stuff. But this is us. We're creating our own project. And so we want to trust if we get these types of messages. Yes, I trust myself, right? I should to write this code. And so we want to say yes on that, yes here about the certificate to trust, so that it'll run HTTPS. Otherwise, you'll get errors when you run HTTPS but you won't get errors when you run HTTP. Okay, so this is our running app that we've just created. And what is this? Right? Now, there's a big old Get button here. Let me click on that and see what it does. And sure enough, there's this information here. I don't really know what that does. There's a button here that says try it out. And then I can click execute. And sure enough, it's kind of giving me some information here. It's saying that the request URL is this, and then this was the response. Well, let me try going to the request URL. So if I come in here and say weather forecast on my running app, and sure enough, it feeds me a little JSON file containing information about temperatures. Okay, this is the default app. Now, again, what we're creating here is an API. API stands for Application Programming Interface, and they've been around for a long time. It's the way that we give an outside program the ability to interface with our program. So for example, if we go out to Google Maps API, there's a lot of people who use Google Maps as developers to incorporate into their projects. And so basically what we're getting here is a set of instructions for how to interact with Google's APIs. So if I go click on one of these, it's going to give me instructions for how I do this. And so it'll tell me, hey, you use these methods, you need to pass me these things in order for me to display a map for you. And so there's a bunch of rules, methods and properties that we have that we can use in order to utilize Google Maps API. And that's just one example. If you look around, there's tons of different APIs to interact with different services around. And we can create our own APIs like we're going to do so that React can interface with .NET. And if we wanted to use something else, if we wanted to use Angular, it would still interact with .NET. We can build these APIs to pass information out that other technologies like React can then go consume, use for their program, whatever they're trying to get done. And so this is an API. Okay, let's keep looking around and just see how this is doing what it's doing. So I'm going to go to the code here. I'll stop the app from running and just take a look. Now we don't have our models folder yet. We don't have views folder. What we have right now is a weather forecast, which is a model, right? We can see that. So this is a model. It has a date, temperature in Celsius, temperature Fahrenheit, and then a summary. And then that's kind of it. We look at the program CS file. It looks a lot like we've seen before. So that's not really doing too much. There's a Swagger thing that we haven't used before. And so where, app settings.json, nothing interesting there. Where is all this information coming from? So we go into the weather forecast controller, and here's where we see what is presenting that information. Now notice we've got this array here of different types of temperatures, and we have what looks like an action here, right? That has a HTTP GET on get weather forecast. There's a get method for it. It's receiving a type of weather forecast, right? And then in here, it's going to return, as it turns out, what it's doing, a random forecast. So it goes and grabs a random temperature in Celsius, and it goes and grabs a random day. It grabs a random summary from one of these things. And so it's just giving us some data. So it loads up this random data and then passes it in, and it's doing it for 5 entries. And so now as we run again, and notice also at the top it says that it's an API controller, the route, and then the route is whatever the controller name is, and the name of the controller is weather forecast controller. So if I come up here again and type in weather forecast, then what I get is a set of data that I can now in React go grab that data and use. And so that's what we're going to work on in this set of videos. Spencer out.